Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tribunal with the Green, where we talk about all things Power Rangers, including the actors that play them. My name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
And my name is Will.
And today we will be talking about a huge thread that was like really given, submitted by Will. He actually found it on Twitter. The thread poster is Too Underrated X. Well, underscore Too Underrated X, and the name is The Vault with a little fire emoji. So, he found this thread and he wanted to go ahead and bring it on the show. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to be talking about some Don Brothers stuff, and we're going to be talking about some news, with just like one little thing about Dino Fury. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But first, before we get started with the show, I just want to remind everybody that, once again, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Google Podcasts, we are on SoundCloud, and we are on YouTube, and we are everywhere that you will listen to podcasts. So, if this is your first time, let us know. If it is not your first time, keep listening because, we really do appreciate you. Speaking of listeners, I just want to shout out everyone who listened to this past episode about the hot takes, submitted hot takes, just thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a really fun episode, and it seemed like a lot of people had fun with us. So thank you. And thank you to the original person that even pitched it to us. Thank you.
Yes. It's her @ is Jen Hydeer, I want to say. Yes. So Jen, thank you so much for the idea. We really, really, really appreciate it. That was fantastic. And so, like I said, so many people reached out and gave us their hot takes. Shoot, we couldn't even send them all. We couldn't even really talk about them all on the show. But for the ones that we did talk about, it was a lot of fun. And you guys have just been just the overwhelming pouring of just appreciation and thanks and love for the stuff that we talked about and the opinions that we gave. Just you guys mean the world to us. Thank you. Thank you so much. And with that being said, I just want to go ahead and just go right into it. So, as you have already probably have heard by now, so international spoilers for Dino Fury Season 2 are out. They are out. So, unfortunately, if you don't have it muted, especially on Twitter, you will be seeing a lot of spoilers coming out on Dino Fury Season 2, unfortunately.
We've all, at least two of us have been spoiled.
Yeah. I don't know which spoilers you've seen, Will, but I've seen two that I'm just like, first of all, I'm kind of high-key mad.
Yeah, me too.
Oh
God, I know exactly what you're mad about, and that's what I saw. And I was mad that I saw it because I wanted to watch it play out.
Right,
please, people, if you get some information that is spoiler related, could you please think about the other people that don't want to be spoiled, and at least put some sort of take some precaution to maybe hide it a little bit better instead of just posting pictures or clips of the damn scenes.
That's what's been getting me. It's the clips for me. It's the clips, because it's not even just the pictures. Because because we already kind of reported Commander Shaw coming back to the show. We already reported that, so that's kind of like, okay, cool. It was like, okay, we already kind of know. So when I seen her, I was like, bet. Okay, that just confirmed what we already knew. That's fine with me. What made me mad was the fact that there are actual scenes that play out certain things that I'm like, I don't want to see that. Not right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, no, this is not okay. Like, and then it didn't even have like, hashtag, like, because I know, what was it, Power Rangers Daily? I know they like to do hashtag, what is it? Hashtag Power Rangers. No, not Power Rangers. Hashtag Dino Fury spoilers. So if and they add that on all their stuff. So it's like, okay, as long as you mute that, then nobody won't see it. Like if you have it muted.
Even with that, with those ones, like they still had the pictures of the scenes up. Like, aren't there ways of, like, you could mark like it's sensitive content or something like that, since it includes spoilers?
I believe you can. I believe so. So I mean, I would love for people to do for people even go to that extra mile of even doing that, because I mean, let's just be very clear. Shoot, by the end of the month, you might as well say the end of the month, we're pretty much going to have the whole second half of Dino Fury already out in Spanish. So, it's like, dag, like, I would have loved to have seen, would love to have seen the show already come here, but apparently there's no actual specific time of when it's going to air in the States. Like, Netflix hasn't put out anything as of yet. Various people have been trying to report on it and been like, okay, haven't really seen anything pop up yet. Netflix have been putting out their summer schedule, their fall schedule, still haven't seen anything yet. So it's just kind of like people are on edge at this point. And honestly, we don't have an actual time or know an actual time or have an idea of when season two, the second half of season two, is going to come out. So that's kind of messed up. That really is kind of messed up. So for anyone who is out here watching the spoilers and all this stuff, just like Will said, be mindful and think about the other people who don't want to see it. Because, a lot of us out here just kind of like, all right, girl, like, like, we don't want to see this. Because like I said, when I seen one specific scene, I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is not what I want. Also, the thread that I mentioned earlier. So Will, just kind of like let the people know, what is this thread about? What does it give it?
Sometime last week I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I think I saw somebody had retweeted something about one of the seasons, and then I clicked on it and saw that it was a whole thread that was just honoring the show, giving recognition to it. So the initial tweet, it said, and it has a picture of the old Saban Power Rangers, actually the Disney Power Rangers logo. And it says, an iconic franchise that millions of us grew up watching, from the shows, movies, toys, and merch. It's time for a thread. And then that engagement alone, it got 30.3 thousand likes. And then from there, it was just so cool to see throughout the thread, seeing so many different people commenting and quote tweeting and giving the likes, and just seeing kind of like a barometer of where people are with seasons other than Mighty Morphin that they enjoyed was really cool to see. And then just all sorts of different fans too. It looked like there were a lot of people that kept talking about the nostalgia, people that haven't, they're not like us where they're part of the franchise and they've been watching, for years. But like, to just see this thread, it got it back in their head. And I thought that was really cool to see. And all sorts of people. So that was just really dope to see, because I know that there's people out there that love this damn franchise, like outside of the super fans, and that probably would be interested, if Hasbro or whoever has it, gives us something worthwhile. So this was really cool to see. But in particular, this isn't, of course, Twitter isn't encompassing of the entire world's view on things, obviously, but it still was pretty cool to see certain numbers as a barometer for where people are like with the series, with familiarity and what they like. So obviously, the first part of the thread was Mighty Morphin, and of course that got the most likes and engagements, obviously.
Right.
And that one was over 4,000 likes, almost 5,000. The thing that got me was the love for the Disney seasons, and like after that, Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm, to see oh my god, like those almost got like 3,000 likes each. Um, so that I don't know, maybe going forward, if they want to reboot a season, maybe they should look at some of the Disney seasons. In Space, surprisingly, was not like at the top. It was right after Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm. But um, you know, people obviously that's still like a lot. It got over 2,000 likes for that one. It was interesting to see Wild Force is that's and I've actually heard that before. I've heard people mention Wild Force like that aren't like big fans. That was next after In Space. That got a
Which
little over
that's
two.
surprising.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about the aesthetic of that season, those were some cool suits. I remember people said they liked the little crystal sabers with the orbs. They had cool Zords. And Forever Red was in that. that season.
Well, I think also too people mainly remember Forever Red. If we really want to talk, if we really want to be serious, like, because I mean the
Yeah.
thing is, when I think of personally, and I'm not saying I'm like the barometer of like the fandom, obviously, like I'm just one person. But when I think of Wild Force, I instantly think of the terrible acting. So I'm just like, I'm trying to figure
Yeah,
out
me
what
too.
other
Me
people are
too.
like. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? What other people are just kind of being like, oh, I love Wild Force. What do you love about it? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
Mhm.
like, these characters, they were awful. Like the acting was terrible. So if you're watching it just specifically for like the suits, the Zords, hell, even the
Mhm.
Zenaku
Mhm.
storyline. Because I will give them that. That Zenaku storyline was fire. I will give them that. Like that whole storyline, the Cole episode with him trying to find it, with him finding out that Master Word killed his parents, like that episode is
Mhm.
probably the best episode out of the entire series.
Mhm.
Out of the entire series of Wild Force. So that was just like fire. So I will give flowers where flowers are due. And plus, also too,
Yeah.
the fight choreography was really good too. Because remember, we talked about
Mhm.
that, like that one little episode where Gendrax and Toxica in their evolved forms were fighting each other, and they had that whole, flying like freaking Matrix people through the air and stuff, like stopping midair. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they had some fire stuff. I'll give them that. So,
And and coincidentally, the for he had definitely mentioned Forever Red in this thread by itself, and that alone got like 3.7 thousand likes. So that was
there
even
you
more
go.
than the seasons after MMPR.
Right.
Folks are messing with SPD that got like 2,000 likes. Mystic Force, people like that too. That got like 1.9K. Turbo did pretty well. It got around the same, well, a little bit lower than Mystic Force. Time Force, Lightspeed Rescue, then Lost Galaxy. They all had over 1,000 likes, and then the big drop off for Operation Overdrive. They only got 621 likes. And looking through people's reactions towards this season, you saw a lot of this is the worst season ever.
No, I mean, but did they lie?
Yeah.
But did they lie? Okay, so here's my thing, and that's one thing about that thread that you posted that I found was very interesting is that they stopped at RPM in terms of talking about each and every season. The poster just stopped right at RPM, didn't even go into the Neo Saban era, which I found very interesting. I'm like, oh, so we're not even going to talk about Dino Charge? Like, I can see they're not talking about Samurai and Mega Force. I can see that. But dang, no love for Dino Charge, no love for Beast Morphers, no love for, not even Dino Fury. Like, I'm just like, dang.
It looks like it looks like the guy that did the thread, he stopped at that point. So he didn't even he's not familiar with them at all.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. But and I mean, like, I get it because it could have easily been a situation where he stopped, because many people didn't even know that it even came back after that point. Like, a lot of people were gooped and gagged, realizing that, wait a minute, I thought it ended at RPM, kind of a situation.
I can remember when I was in high school, I had gotten my nephews into Power Rangers, but I didn't know that it was still on. I remember like my senior year of high school, seeing Jungle Fury toys, and I'm like, oh wow, this is still on. So I think there were a lot of people that felt that way. He was able to get the last couple of, like you mentioned, the last couple of Disney era ones in there. The one with the most likes was it looks like it was, what is it? Jungle Fury with 893. And even though Overdrive was pretty low, the lowest was actually RPM with 388 likes, and like folks didn't know that was, like, people didn't know. And we remember the crazy time slot that it was in. They just stopped all promotion, so that was a gem that folks just do not know about, unfortunately.
And that's the gag is that's the most unfortunate part about it, is the fact that RPM truly is a gem. And I think that a lot of people, especially knowing that, there were so many people that were so into, these other Disney seasons. And, it's just like all these seasons got like in the upper thousands and, 2,000 and 3,000 likes and all this stuff. And to realize that, RPM was like the lowest one, not because it was a bad series, but because no one knew about it. And like you said, the crazy time slot, that played a factor. They didn't promote it anymore. Because I remember, for me personally, I've talked to people who were like, their time slot that they would be able to see RPM would be sometimes at like 5 a.m.
Exactly
5
what I was
a.m.,
thinking
6 a.m.
Right.
And no one is getting up that early to watch no goddamn Power Rangers. Like, I don't care how much of a fan you are. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to watch the show. It's just not happening. Okay, like, it's just not happening. Now, what I will say though is, despite that, I got lucky because where I was in good old South Carolina at the time, it still came on at 11. So I could still, I was lucky. Like, I was one of the lucky people. But, I've conversed with fans who, a lot of them were like, yeah, it came on at 5 a.m. So it was just unfortunate that so many people couldn't watch it because, they, at that point, Disney was just like, we just want to just shove this season out and get rid of it. Like, we don't even care where it falls. We don't care what the time slot is. We don't give a shit. We're not promoting it. We just want it out, so we can just go ahead and throw away this franchise and move on. So that's the unfortunate part about it. And they did that to like one of the best seasons of the Disney era. Hell, one of the best seasons of the franchise. So just unfortunate. Just unfortunate. And also too, didn't the writer also talk about the movies as well in the thread?
Yeah. So sorry, I just lost the damn thread. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, here it is. My bad. My bad. There it is. All right. Okay. All right. So yes, obviously there. He mentioned the 3 films that we've had thus far, and as you can imagine, the popularity it wanes as we go through the 3 films. But there's not a big drop. There's not really a big drop off. MMPR got 2,000 likes. Turbo got 1,034, and 2017 got 1,019. So it's not really horrible. And interestingly enough, the 2017 movie got more engagements than Turbo. So with the quote tweets. And there, oh man, there's still so much love for that film for people that weren't necessarily big Power Rangers fans. And I actually shared in one of our chats, this happens every couple of months, somebody will randomly throw a Power Rangers 2017 this movie deserved better tweet out, and then it'll get some engagements. But interestingly enough, I shared in another chat that we're in, another person did one of these tweets, and it did over 107,000 likes for the 2017 movie, which
like, can we just for a second, like, let's just like, because I want to sit with this. Like, I really want to sit with this. I feel like personally, and this is just me, but is it me, or did the non-fan people, not the non-fandom people, like the movie more than the actual fandom people did? Because I'm starting to get the idea that Power Rangers 2017 is starting to become a cult classic. Because
right.
I'm noticing a lot of people who are not fans of this show are actually out here being like, yo, this movie was fire. Like, what are y'all talking about? But the fans of the show are out here like, this movie was terrible. Like, and I'm just like, I just find that very interesting, because as we're approaching this new universe kind of a situation, as we're approaching it, I'm wondering, it's like, if this is the route or the field that they're going into, is it going to turn into a situation where a lot more non-fans are going to be rooting for the universe more than the actual fans are? Because that's what it kind of feels like is the projection.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that is very important, because our franchise is a dedicated franchise. However, it's not that large. If it was larger, the franchise would be doing better. So it's very important to cater to the casuals, because that's the masses.
Right.
So I think that that's is very important to, while you pay attention and you give respect to the people that have been riding with the franchise all this time, you also have to be thinking about people that don't that haven't been. So I think that it's going to be important to find a good medium between the two.
Yeah. And that's something that I feel like has always been something that Saban was always very opposed to. Saban was very it seemed like they were very scared to put out something or to do something that would make the fans be like, oh no, I don't support this, or oh no, I don't want to watch this kind of a situation, because they knew how small it was, how small this franchise is in the gamut of, you know, other franchises out there, despite the fact that we've been going on for almost 30 years. You know, it's still a very small franchise. It's nowhere close to like a Ghostbusters or like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything like that. Star Wars, like, you know, like it's nothing close, like not even close. So it's one of those things where I always kind of felt like Saban was just extremely scared to be like, we don't want to even try. We don't even want to try to step too far outside this box, because if we do, it ain't gonna work.
I wonder if they also didn't want to spend the money.
It could have been that, but also I don't necessarily believe that entirely, because let's be clear. Now that's one thing that Saban did that I will give credit to. Now listen, you know, we all know I don't too much fuck with Saban like that. I don't like his practices. I don't like how he treated the actors. There's a lot of things about Saban brands that I'm just like, it needs to catch on fire. However, one thing they did was promote. And I will say they promoted the hell out of that damn movie. Now, every time you turn around, you saw behind the scenes footage. You saw the actors going out and doing interviews. It was just like they were really amping it up, like really trying to promote this movie. Hell, they even had the movie, be seen by like they had screeners who saw the movie first, who literally was like, no, don't put in that scene with Kimberly and Jason kissing, because it messes up Kimberly's whole, her whole storyline and her whole point for being there. You know what I'm saying? It makes her just all of a sudden feel too, much like, oh, this is going to become a situation between those two, kind of a situation. And so they ended up not putting the kiss in the movie. So it was obvious that they were really trying to make this movie a thing. So I believe personally, they'll put money into things that they really want to put money into. And I do think that movie was something that they really, 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 really was trying to push. And unfortunately, it just didn't do well. And I think largely one of the main reasons why it didn't do well was just the look of it overall. Personally, I really do think it was the look. A lot of people just was looking at it and was like, I don't recognize this. This isn't my Power Rangers kind of a situation. Because we all heard the stupid rumors, not rumors, but the stupid comments of it, being like, oh, they look too much like Iron Man. Like all these stupid behind comments. So it was just like a lot of people were just thrown off by the way it looked. The six-legged mastodon and Triceratops. There were just so many things that people were thrown off by, I think. So it just really, and of course, when you start talking so negatively, because I'm gonna tell you now, we fans, no tea, no shade. Nah, and I just have to put it out there. Sometimes we are our own downfall.
Yeah, for sure.
We really are. We really are our own downfall sometimes, because I do think that when everybody was out there, going on Twitter, going on Instagram, oh, this movie is terrible. Oh, it's not my Power Rangers. It's not what I remember. It's not this. It's not that. Oh, it looks terrible. Oh, the suits are bad. And I mean, the way people dogged that movie, I'm pretty sure your average moviegoer was like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, as far as it's so important to have people outside of the franchise looking into this, because if they weren't so damn negative, then like you said, people that haven't watched Power Rangers in a while or since Mighty Morphin, they maybe would have gone out and seen it. Maybe. I don't know how big of an impact that those negative people had, but like I kind of it's this gatekeeping in a sense, and that the Power Rangers fans, they got mad about the new direction, and as a result, they complained, which kind of had some factor into how it turned out. Would that be a form of gatekeeping? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like sometimes, and don't get me wrong. Also, let me. How can I put this? Sometimes, and I just want to be clear. Sometimes, as in sometimes, gatekeep. For those of you who know that reference, gatekeeping sometimes is not that bad because sometimes you do need to protect certain things. Where it's like, look, these things are very specific to a specific group of people or to a specific thing, where it's like if other things were to impact it, it could change it completely to the point where it's unrecognizable. So people gatekeep certain things. I get that. So that I'm not too against. However, with stuff like this in particular, because I do know fandoms gatekeep a lot. I mean, have we seen the tweets from Star Wars fans? Like those are like some of the biggest gatekeepers. Like they firmly believe that nobody in the Star Wars universe needs to be anything other than white. But that's a completely different other conversation. Like no other race of people existed in this world other than aliens and white people, but that's another conversation. But it's like with certain things I can understand gatekeeping, and we can get into a whole conversation about that. But when it comes to things like specifically franchises and stuff like that, it's like we don't personally have ownership of this. Like this isn't something that us as fans actually own. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just something that we support. That's the difference. We support it, we love it, but it's not something that we own. We can't dictate what Power Rangers is going to do. Like we don't have any ownership of that. So it just kind of feels like a lot of times we will literally mess ourselves up, because I do honestly believe, and I'm not saying that that movie had no faults. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I do believe that sometimes when it comes down specifically to that movie, I feel like it could have worked just based off of what people are saying now. Because looking at a lot of the comments, especially from that particular tweet, from that thread, there were many people who were like, "Oh my God, I watched it and I really enjoyed it." And it was just, and obviously they're not like avid fans of the show. So I'm like, I'm wondering, the question that goes off in my head every time is, okay, so when this movie was out, what made you not want to do it? What made you not want to go watch it? And I kind of feel like what it was the fans. Because honestly, I didn't really see too many actual fans of the franchise talk nice about it at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of people who were in support and being like, yeah, I really fucks with this movie. I really like it. But there were so few of those voices versus the voices that were being like, this movie sucked. Like, it was like avid fans of the show avid fans of the franchise were just like, oh my God, this movie was terrible. Like, this is the worst movie ever. I like they didn't. They waited to the last 5 minutes of the movie to morph, and oh my god, like this movie is, and it's like, yo, like really, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, by watching this movie, we know it's going to be like a series of movies. So this was literally just a movie, like the origin story to get the Power Rangers to finally use their powers for the first time. You know what I'm saying? So I personally wasn't expecting, you know, 3 and 4 fight scenes with their suits. Now, granted, was I disappointed that that's all we got? Yeah. But personally, I just figured, well, shoot, we're gonna see it in the next, the next movie. We'll probably see more. Obviously, we didn't get another movie, but it was just one of those things that I just always figured we'd end up getting. And it just fell apart. So I personally just feel like at the end of the day, sometimes we really can shoot ourselves in the foot. We really can. And I do see a lot of times in those tweets where, like you said, we'll get those tweets over and over every other month being like, I really like this movie. And I see the reshares of actual fans of the show or the franchise being like, oh, it really wasn't that great. Oh, it wasn't that good.
It was too woke. I just saw that bullshit.
Yeah.
If you ever use that term in a negative context, first and foremost, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you don't deserve to be taken seriously. So shut the fuck up.
At all. Like, and also I feel like people saying, using woke in a negative context, it feels very anti-black to me. But
yes, absolutely.
It's almost kind of like you're one step away from falling the ghetto, and that's definitely anti-black rhetoric. So I'm just kind of like, I don't like it when y'all say that. I genuinely don't. But I agree. I agree 100%. I really do personally feel like this movie should have gotten a lot more flowers than it deserved. And my thing is, at the end of the day, you cannot, and hear me clear when I say this, y'all want so bad, because I literally just saw Blurred Vision post up a tweet on that he because he likes to do those tweets and then also post on his Instagram as well. And he was talking about how Adi Shankar made that Power Slash Rangers movie short film, and how so many people like the rated R and the mature Power Rangers with them. Because I don't know if you've seen the movie, but there's a scene where like Zach is with these two women. He's like a ladies' man, and he's doing coke, and like he's doing coke, and then he's fighting these what looks like the Yakuza, and then he's like doing headshots, and and it's just like, really?
It was a lot. It was different. I have
not to say, even different. That was terrible.
I will say I didn't hate it. I don't think it's necessary for Power Rangers to go in a direction like that. But that was just somebody, like, it wasn't official. It was just a short film somebody did, and it was their own take on it. So
I'm not saying that it was like it was official or anything. I'm just saying from my point of view, but from what I feel the fans are saying when they're like, oh, I want something mature, I want something this, I want something that. It's like, when I hear people say that, that's what I feel like people want. You know what I'm saying?
And then real quick, when that came out, I do remember there were people that weren't Power Rangers fans, or at least they hadn't watched it since they were kids, that actually did think that was kind of cool. I didn't hate it. I know that there was a lot of Power Rangers fans and actors that didn't like it because it took such a it was such a departure from being family friendly. Obviously,
Well,
you're not going to be family friendly when you're taking bumps of coke and shooting people in the head, among other shit that was happening there.
listen, and I hear that, right? I hear that. I'm not even coming from the argument of it being family friendly. I'm not even coming from there. I just personally feel like the franchise is why do people automatically feel like if you want to tell a good story, it automatically needs to be mature, it automatically needs to have blood, it needs to have drugs, it needs to have people getting headshots, like for it to feel dark and gritty. Ooh, it needs to, Power Rangers need to feel like Watchmen. No, it don't. Who said that? You know what I'm saying? Like, my thing is, at the end of the day, I personally think that the 2017 movie is like the perfect middle ground of feeling not so much like quote unquote Power Rangers, but still having the feel of Power Rangers. Because there were still your feel of the classic 90s version of the franchise, because you still felt that sense of teamwork, you still felt that sense of working together and all that stuff. You had the actual inner workings of Power Rangers in the movie, but it felt modernized, it felt updated, it felt like, oh, not just children would be watching this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it felt like anybody could watch this, which is, I feel like, what the goal should be if you're going to make a show that everybody can watch. Because everybody has their own idea of what mature is and what dark and gritty is. Everybody has their own idea of what this stuff is. And while Adi Shakar's, little thing was interesting, I'm not gonna say it wasn't interesting, because it damn sure was interesting. Not my cup of tea. And I'm looking at it from a storyline point of view. It had no story. It was just, you just got Rita picking off random rangers. And that whole thing was just so damn random. And then you see at the very end, I don't even know how the hell, who was that, Kimberly or Kat? That was
Kimberly.
like, oh, that was Kimberly. The blonde girl was Kimberly.
She was
Okay.
just blonde. Yeah.
Right. I was like, what? And then wasn't like Rocky, that wasn't Rocky. So wasn't somebody dead in the
I believe
bathtub
it
or something
was
like that?
Rocky. Well, Rocky was in there, but I think that was Jason in the. I think that
Oh,
was
it was Jason
Jason.
in the bathtub dead or
I
something like that. It was
believe
just like,
so.
what is this? Like, that movie, it just, nothing about it made sense to me. Something that for adults to watch, or people of older diaspora to watch, then still keep up with what Power Rangers actually is. Because you can still do that and adults still watch it. Hell, people watch The Flash. People watch Arrow. Adults watch, you know what I'm saying? Adults watch these shows and they don't have all that crap in it. What do y'all want? Like, y'all want to turn Power Rangers into like the comics in the 80s, where in the early 90s, where DC went dark, and then all of a sudden, like, Mug started breaking people's heads off and stuff. Like, that's so stupid to me. And even then, that was like the worst era of comic books during that time with DC. That was like the worst era. Y'all can miss me with that conversation. Anytime I hear that conversation, it just irks me. Because I'm like, y'all don't know what you want. Y'all think you do. And then when you get it, then you're mad. Because it's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Oh, this is stupid. And it's like, you don't know what you want.
And
You
sometimes
genuinely
you
don't.
can, yeah, sometimes you can just, I don't know, wait and see what happens. Like, I guess in particular with the 2017 movie, if that did well, we could have gotten more films where the things that people were complaining about, where you would have seen more fighting, more action, and probably a better. Well, I can't say probably because you never know, but hopefully, a better film or better films if we did get like a whole franchise. But I think there's a lot of that gets frustrating because I feel like there's such a vocal minority, and the people in charge, they get scared by that because I think they think that it's the broader scale of people that are complaining about things, and then it just like screws everything up. Because I feel like that's what happened with the DC films. You got some people complaining, and then now look at where we are with that whole franchise in the fucking gutter.
And the thing is, I really do kind of feel like DC are doing some smart things when it comes in terms of trying to rejuvenize the DC franchise, because I thought it was really smart for them to make Shazam the way they did. Because
that was fun. That was a fun movie.
That was probably the best movie. I know people are like, "Oh, Aquaman." Aquaman was just pretty. Aquaman was giving to me beautiful gowns. Because other than Jason Momoa with his fine ass, that movie was like, girl, it was too long, and it
was really basic storytelling, and I feel like the story was a story that we've seen before. You know,
it really was. It really was a story that we've seen before, and I think that that's what made that, compiled with how beautiful it was, I think was what made that movie so impactful, because it was very basic. Like when I say basic, it was basic of the basics. So, I mean, it didn't do nothing revolutionary. It didn't go out and tell this crazy, oh my God kind of story. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, that was nice. And just kind of kept it pushing. But it just looked gorgeous. Whereas Shazam really was like, it was fun, it was engaging, it told a really good story, it looked good. Like, it was just a really good movie, and it didn't do nearly as well. DC needs to like hone its energy, because I know people are like, oh, the Snyder movies, and do the Snyder, what is it, Snyderverse or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, those movies were just extremely just long. I watched that whole thing, and when I tell you I was so disappointed, did you like it?
I liked it. I think that there was definitely a way of telling that story in half the time.
Half the time.
But I did enjoy it, and it just, especially coming off of the Joss Whedon version, which I watched. I watched them together to because I hadn't seen Justice League since I saw it in the movies. So to see the difference between the two, it was pretty significant, I thought, and I did think that it was a better film. It just was long as hell.
It was, oh God, it was just so terrible. Like, I mean, there were some things that I did like from the movie. I did enjoy most of the things with Wonder Woman. I did enjoy most of that stuff. Because I just thought, like, especially that scene where Wonder Woman was just like trying to save the little kids and stuff from those terrorists. Like, it was the hair blowing for me. I think that's really what it was. The daughter in me was excited about the hair, and I'm just like, yes, that hair better blow, honey.
I loved oh my goodness, not Android, Cyborg. I loved his story. That was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. And it's a shame that was like completely cut in the theatrical version. Like we saw him, but it wasn't to the effect of really delving into his character like we got to see in the Snyder cut. And that was just really unfortunate. And then of course we know about the bad stuff that was happening behind the scenes with him.
Right. But child, listen. Other than the movie stuff, let's just go ahead and just kind of get into these little tweets that was inside this little thread. So, because we talked enough about just the randomness. But so they did mention for one, Mighty Morphin, and he just compiled all of Mighty Morphin together. He was like, Mighty Morphin 1993 to through 1995, the group that kicked it all off, and the only ones to have 3 seasons. The franchise as a whole is iconic itself, but this group is the iconic group of all groups. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they're pop cultural icons. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That when you ask the average person about Power Rangers, if they don't know all five or all six of the names, you'll definitely hear them mention at least one of them. So yeah,
and we
I
all know
agree
which
with
one
that.
that is.
Yeah.
We all
I
know
mean,
which one that
and
is.
then
Okay.
of course, other than him, some I feel like they with each character connected with somebody. You know, a lot of people, you always hear a lot of people's first crush was Kimberly, or I love, of course, hearing when people say that their first crush was Trini. That's really cool. Or they connected with the smart one, Billy, or the black one with Zach, because he was the first black superhero that I had ever seen. I was only 3, so I wasn't around long to really see any black superheroes on TV. But and then Jason was the first leader I ever saw, and he was so like such a commanding force. So it was absolutely, I agree with that statement.
I mean, yes. I will say I agree with that as well. My only thing is that whenever mugs talk about their favorites or talk about their first loves and stuff like that, I don't ever really I mean, I hear it sometimes, but I don't ever really hear anyone mention Aisha. And that makes me sad. Because I'm
And
like, I thought
yeah.
Karen Ashley was fine, especially when she got the Singalese twist. Like, when she had the Singalese twist, honey, like, I mean, that was like peak, poetic justice, sister girl, like, yes, girl, yes, God. Like, I was like that, but of course, also too, I was a daughter, so I actually liked Aisha because I wanted to be her. But I'm just like when I hear Mugs, when I hear Mugs be like, "Oh my God, Aisha, Aisha," I'm like, nobody don't got no love for her. It just makes you sad.
I think you definitely will see for the demographic, I would say black girls who watch Power Rangers probably have a lot of love for her. And then because there's a drop off obviously after the originals. You know, there's some people that remember the movie. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people remember the movie actually. So like there's definitely folks that remember and love her as well, but you don't hear as much as you do with the original 6.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like it. I'm like, if you remember Aisha, especially from the movie, then you know she was the hero. Like she was the true hero of the movie because she saved everybody by kicking Ivan Ooze in the balls. So, like, let's be very clear:
Yeah.
Aisha saved the world. Like, don't do this. Like, we all know Aisha saved the world. If it wasn't for her, the Rangers would have been dead. I'm just saying. So yeah, I'm like, just give credit where credit is due. That's all. Um, but but then he goes on to mention Zeo with everything from the previous season all being destroyed and all hell breaking loose. The Rangers had to find a new power, new Zords, and of course it brought about a new enemy, King Mondo's Blockhead and the Machine Empire. Listen, with Zeo, y'all all know Zeo is my first love. Like Zeo is always going to be cream of the crop for me. Like Zeo, honestly, and the thing is, so I remember as a child being like so in awe of like Mighty Morphin because I watched it like literally the first day it came out. Like I remember sitting in front of my TV, August 26th, 1993, sitting in front of our big ass TV where you got to turn the knob and maybe even hit the side of the TV just so that the color will stay right. I remember being that kid and watching for the first time Power Rangers. So I've been sticking with it since that Saturday morning. Like I remember it verbatim. However, it was something about the amp up and the ramp up for Zeo that just always had me at a chokehold, and it always had me like that for years, like even till this day. Because I remember they did they had the mini series with the Alien Rangers, where the Rangers went on their separate quest. They had that little mini thing with the scientists where they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And they're looking through the telescope and they're being like, "Oh, what's that coming? Oh my God, do you see that? Yeah, I see it. What is that? Oh my goodness, it looks like a UFO. Oh my God, what kind of UFO is it? Oh my God, I don't know. It looks like something spinning. I don't know what that is. Oh," and then that'll be the end of the 15 seconds. Then the next 15 seconds, "Oh, it looks like gears. Oh my God, what kind of gear is it? I don't know." Then the next 15 seconds is done. And then it's just like this weird little thing. And it's like, oh my God, what is this? Like, what's coming? And then of course you got the little I guess the pre-part to the Zeo theme song where it's like, you gotta see it, it's coming, you gotta see it. And then it's just like, oh my God, the energy, the energy, the energy. And before you know it, like boom, Zeo. You know what I'm saying? So then when that first episode hit, it hit. You know what I'm saying? And the way they left the cliffhanger with everybody thinking that Zordon was dead, it was like, oh, gut punch. Like, oh my God, Zordon is dead? What? Zordon didn't make the explosion? So it's just like, Zeo just built so much suspense. Like, so much suspense. To the point where it was just like, oh my God, like this show. And I think that that's what really stuck with me as a child. And one of the main reasons why I love Zeo so much, because it just built up so much anticipation. Ooh, I got lost in that. And it just really stuck with me. And I don't ever feel like Mighty Morphin did that. It never did that for me. I know like a lot of fans really, really, really fuck with Mighty Morphin, but Zeo just had a hold on me. And especially with just how the Rangers just felt so mature, and it felt like they grew up. They weren't dealing with, Bulk and Skull falling in the pie or falling in the cake, or, Bulk ripping his pants. They didn't necessarily deal with that anymore. So everybody just felt like it just turned into like a Power Rangers version of Dawson's Creek a little bit. Like it just felt a little bit mature. And I think that that's what really made me love Zeo. So I don't know. How did you feel about Zeo when it came out? Like, did you enjoy it as much, or were you like, yeah, no?
I can remember. Oh man, I remember all the serials. For like hyping it up. I still remember the date. All right, a side quest real quick. So I'll always remember that because the day before I suffered a pretty horrific injury.
Oh no.
This kid, it was crazy. I remember the whole scenario. I was at like recess in kindergarten. I accidentally like fell on this kid's legs, and he thought that I did it on purpose. He shoved me. Well, he shoved his friend into me, and then I went face first into concrete steps.
Oh my God.
Blood everywhere. I still have the scar on my temple.
Jesus
if it was
Christmas.
any closer to my eye, I probably would have lost my eye.
Wow.
So I remember waking up with like this horrible scaly just monstrosity on the side of my face watching Power Rangers Zeo the first time.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Oh, that's a
yeah.
bloody memory, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I remember that
That's
in
shitty.
yeah, yeah. So I remember oh man, like the toys in particular. It was so exciting to see something different, but at the same time, I remember the first time that I saw the Zeo toys, I thought that they were bootlegs. Because you remember the old bootleg Power Rangers you would see at the dollar store?
Yes.
So that's what I thought that they were, but it's like, wait, this is Toys R Us. Oh, okay. And then they, of course, they were released before the show came out. But yeah, I remember that. I remember it just being exciting to have something new. And I was sad to say goodbye to Aisha, but then we got Tanya, who I didn't fully appreciate until I was way older. And
First of all, I need you to never say that again in my presence.
well, you know, I feel about her now.
I don't care. I don't care. Don't ever say that again.
And I loved in hindsight, it seemed like a really complete season other than the way that it ended. Which, technically it ended with the Turbo movie, but I think that was probably the biggest thing. I think that the finale should have been better and more final.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I loved that they developed the cast pretty well. We had all of them were, well, I guess except for Tanya and Kat, all the guys were vets, and then we got to see Tanya and Kat actively train and do things to become as good as they could as Rangers. And like you said, it matured a little bit. The writing got a bit better. I always loved the full arsenal of Zords and weapons that they had. And seeing Jason come back, I remember watching that and being so excited about that. That those teases of Billy possibly being the Gold Ranger before that. So meeting Tommy's brother, who was his real life brother. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I remember from that. So the whole newness of it, because we had in the first three seasons, we got new Zords and new weapons, but they still had the same suits. So it was like completely different. So I always appreciated that.
Also, too, like I agree. Like I agree with the sentiment of the finale could have been better. Because they could have certainly used the O Ranger finale. I think that they could have used the O Ranger finale instead of like what they did do. But whatever. Like that's a completely different conversation for another day. But I will say that I do agree with that, and that I could tell that more than likely they were trying to use the Turbo movie as their way of like creating synergy in between Zeo and Turbo, but yeah, didn't quite pan out so well. Didn't quite pan out. Which they mentioned for Turbo, they said, listen, they had some of the cleanest suits of the franchise to me this season, switched things up and had an actual kid be one of the Rangers. I hated it. The villain, well, that's me. I'm saying I hated it. The villain Divatox was a damn comedian. Yes, she was. And this season was given a movie as well. So, real quick, for me, Turbo, honestly, I went back, remember, and I said a couple weeks ago, I really did enjoy, I went back and rewatched the movie. I actually enjoyed it. Here's my thing, and here's my situation with Turbo, and this is what it's always been. I feel like Turbo had too many shelves in the kitchen in terms of like the writers' room and what they really wanted to do with the original team and stuff like that. Or just in general, they just had too many things, too many wheels spinning. Ha! Wheels, turbo. Ha! I made a joke. But anyway, ha! But no, because we heard the rumors and the story of, there was a lot of chaos going on behind the scenes where some people felt like Turbo should have been more serious. Some people felt like it should have been more comedic, like the Sentai footage. And that's just like they just always had that whole like, this is what we think it should have been, this is what we think it shouldn't have been kind of a situation. Here's my thing with that. The movie itself, because remember, the movie originally was supposed to be what, like Rise of the Volcano or Trip to the Volcano or something like that. And that was like a Zeo movie, like original. Like the Zeo movie was supposed to be like a separate movie by itself. And then that got axed. So there really wasn't even development from that. So then it just became like, oh, let's go ahead and turn this into a Turbo movie where they transfer their powers from Zeo to Turbo. And of course, that was around the same time Steve Cardenas was like, I don't want to be here no more, because y'all won't give us raises. So I'm out. So at the same time, that's why on the final episode of Zeo, Steve isn't physically there because he didn't even film the final episode. He lent his voice, but that was it. He was like, I'll do the ADR, but I'm not coming to film. And that's really about it. But yeah, other than that, there was so many things about the Turbo movie that I still watch, and I'm like, more so just being like, if they just would have explained the powers better, I think the movie would have been okay. Genuinely, I really do think the movie would have been okay if they explained the powers. Because to me, if they just would have went back and just revisited the lore of Zeo and the Zeo crystals, it would have made more sense. Because they said, oh, the power grows over time. Okay, great. Turn this into a situation where their powers are affecting them just like how Trey's powers was affecting Jason. Make them start getting weak. And then this new threat comes up and it's like, Divatox went ahead, kidnapped Jason and Kimberly because Jason and Kimberly wanted to visit Angel Grove and not tell Tommy. They went ahead and just messed their stuff up. And then, turn it into a whole situation, them getting their powers back, bing, bam, boom, after they found a way to like make it work and keep it pushing. But I'm just like, they really messed up with that movie. So it just made the show, just not be good as well. Like, did you think the movie had any impact on the actual show, or did you just think that the Turbo show was just meh by itself?
I remember watching the first half of Turbo, and I noticed they tried to use some of the stuff from the movie, like the actual props from the film. They didn't really do a lot of it, but it still felt kind of the same to me. At least the first half did, and then because of all the shuffling in the writer room and all the creative stuff going on and the behind the scenes, the second half felt totally different. So I don't know. Maybe it had an effect on the first half, but not so much the second.
Oh, so you don't think it had any effect on the second half at all?
Not because like I said, it felt totally different to me, at least.
That's real. No, I agree. It did. It did feel different. I agree with that. Did you think it had any effect, Lena?
I think that's like, I remember watching them both, and I think like not recently, but at some point I did rewatch Zeo, and I watched the movie, and I still felt like it was just so separated.
I remember it felt it felt definitely felt larger scale because obviously they put a bit more budget into it. The
Yeah,
tone, it felt bigger
yeah, it was like a
in compare.
different, like, yeah, like it just felt different. I don't know, like I felt like, yeah, you're right, but the scale being bigger, but I guess like it's kind of like some of the way you guys were saying, like with the movie, with the 2017 movie. I felt like the series was just like a really long, dragged out storyline, where like the movie was more condensed, but it got straight to the point.
For me, I don't know. Like I personally kind of feel like the movie, well, at least the both movies, they just I feel like the Turbo movie was trying to set a precedence for the show itself for Turbo, and it was trying to set the stage for what was about to happen. And because the tone of the Turbo movie was dark. Oh God, here we comes with that term again. It wasn't your typical, light, fun, like the original movie, like Mighty Morphin. Like it wasn't like that movie, where it just felt like a kid's adventure, kind of a thing. Yeah, it was definitely it was still a kid's adventure, but you had a lot more
It was,
serious things
yeah, it was
happening.
a very serious like adventure. It wasn't like they were having fun, and it wasn't like they were doing these things because they wanted to be there. It was like they were doing it, they had it to be there. And I think that's kind of why for me, like I felt it was very different because like when we went back to the series, it was more lighthearted, it was more fun. It was just like again, very different tone.
Well, that's my thing, and that's what I was going to bring up because for me it felt like the first half, especially with Turbo, with the original team, there it was kind of like so flip floppy because it was like on one hand you can kind of tell that they were trying to keep it with the same tone of the movie, and then on some episodes, like for example, some of the episodes like even the first episode, like the first three episodes, it had that same tone of the movie with them, trying to get Zordon back home and them trying to graduate and all that stuff. It still had the same tone,
Yo,
but then on the following episode, it was silly again because you had Chromite sitting here, gyrating and twerking and stuff while kicking the Rangers' asses. You know what I'm saying?
I
So,
just had a thought. I just had a thought. You know what? This reminded me of the change between Clueless the movie and Clueless the series.
in what way?
It felt like you're going with the same storyline, but the quality is a bit dropped from the film.
Okay. Because
Which
I
isn't
honestly never
necessarily a
watched the TV
bad
show.
thing. Really? I
Yeah,
used
I've
to
never
watch
seen the
that
TV
every
show.
Friday. I think that was on TGIF back in the day.
Oh,
But
really?
but-
Hmm.
yeah, like at coming to the end of TGIF.
Hmm.
Because that was like late '90s. But yeah,
Okay.
it was like a drop off in quality just because it doesn't have the budget of the film, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because you
No.
get to do more long form storytelling because it's a season as opposed to just a film.
Hmm. I mean, yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times to say yeah, but but I think that with Turbo specifically, it just because they didn't know what direction they wanted it to go in. It was just one of those things where it was just like it was so flip floppy, especially with that first half. It was like like the first half did have some really good episodes because I loved them. Honestly, it was more so I actually liked the episodes that were goofy in the first half of Turbo because the episode where they turned into flies, I actually like
Uh,
that two-parter.
I
Like
I
that
can
two-parter was funny.
remember. Oh, I remember. I think I had mentioned this before. I remember seeing that first episode, and then I think I missed the second part, and they had taken a break in between. It was like a 3 month break, so I didn't see that second part until years later. And the next thing I knew was passing the torch, and I was like, "Wait, what the hell is happening? Where are my Rangers going? Who are these new people?"
Right, right. So I mean, I don't know. I always felt like the first half of Turbo was just so random and just like they just didn't know what they wanted to do and how they wanted to get themselves together. And then like the second half was like, oh, like now we have like an idea of what we want to do. And they just went ahead and leaned in with the goofy. And I think that was the perfect thing to do with the new cast because they were so inexperienced. It was like, yeah, make them goofy. Like make them silly because they really don't know what they're doing at this point. So, them being baked into a pizza makes perfect sense. Like it makes sense for them to be baked into a pizza. So I don't know. Like I always kind of felt like if they just would have kept that same energy with the first half as they had with the movie, just kind of keep it a little serious, and then when the new team comes, kind of turn it into like a lighthearted, goofy little series. I think that probably would have worked a lot better than just them trying to figure out what was going on, and trying to add in seriousness and goofy and all that stuff because it just felt very disjointed. But you know what didn't feel disjointed? In Space. In Space, this group saved the franchise from being canceled. They came hard as fuck. That can be taken in several different ways. Storyline was on point with crazy twists, and when the Psycho Rangers came, bruh, one of the best villain arcs in the franchise to this day. I agree. I agree 100%. And they did save the franchise, honestly. Because the ratings for Power Rangers Turbo was not good. So In Space really brought them back. Anything y'all want to add with any hot takes y'all want to add or any opinions on In Space?
Yes,
No,
they should have replaced Carl's.
uh,
Wow!
I'm sorry.
That's like the best hot take ever. Repeat that one more time for the people.
They should have replaced Carlos. Like, I'm sorry. I know how much you didn't like Justin. I would have rather Justin in Space at that point.
Oh, girl, no.
I'm just saying. Anyone
no,
but
girl.
Carl.
No, girl. Now, if they had just I honestly, now hear me out. If Andros would have brought somebody else along with him, and then they just had Carlos just kind of, just sitting in the back being like, yeah, so we got our own Black Ranger over here. So, I'm gonna make TJ blue, and the girls have their colors and stuff. So, I mean, you can chill with Alpha. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be okay with that.
I would actually be okay. I'm with you. If we had two defrost like freezers back there that we can defrost, I would have been fine with that too.
Wait, so you want them to put Carlos on ice?
No. He had
freeze his ass. Put his ass in cryostasis.
You know how like he had Zane hiding in the freezer somewhere back there? Like if he had two of those, like maybe like I don't know, their brother or somebody. If there was two bodies back there and they were surprised, I would have been fine with that too.
That is hilarious. Dead ass. Like that is funny.
Or if they froze Carlos, I'm fine with that too.
I mean,
wow.
Freeze his ass. Put his ass on ice.
Mm-hmm. Like, like I'm just saying, like, yeah, he could have.
That is funny.
Like, he was okay in Turbo, but when he got to In Space,
girl, don't lie on him. He wasn't okay in Turbo.
Like, I was saying, like, when I say okay, I mean like okay, as in like very borderline not okay. I was being polite. Like I forgot he was in Turbo. That's how okay he was. Like where in his face where it was like he had so many focus episodes where I'm just like, why?
And that always had been my thing. That's always been my thing.
Why?
I'm like, why?
Why? Like at least in Turbo, we had Ashley with her thing going back to last week's episode where, Ashley was doing this, she was doing that, and Cassie trying to be like a singer or whatever. Like at least we were able to focus on the funner stuff, and Carl's just there in the background. It was okay. Like we forgot he was there. But then in space, they literally was like, hey, let's do a couple of Carl's episodes. Let's show the world how whiny he is and how annoying he is. And let's teach the kids to never be like Carl's. Never give up. Don't be like Carl's.
Don't be like Carlos, y'all. Don't be like Carlos. And I mean, my thing is you had a veteran come back.
Right?
And give you special training.
Yup.
Special training. And you see what this mug did? He literally quit.
Exactly. You had Johnny, who actually gave you his powers, by the way. Johnny was like, not Johnny, what was his name?
Adam.
Adam was like, I chose you to be the next one. What did he say about Adam? I don't even know. Like, what did Adam say about Carlos at the time when he chose him?
You be the future Green Ranger, Carlos. You've proven yourself to be incisive and intelligent. Damn, why do I remember that? Oh my God.
I don't know how you remember that. This is why I ask. But clearly, Adam, I'm sorry, but you made the wrong choice. Whoever you were talking about was definitely not Carlos. Like, I understand you had to go out there and just pluck somebody off the street. I get that. You didn't have a lot of choice, but
here's the thing, and this is what I never understood about like their decision making, because it was like Tanya must got like really good instinct, because Ashley was pretty good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Ashley was good, even though she never talked to Ashley a day in her life. Like Ashley was pretty good. So sis just was like, must have been, really, talking to the African gods who was watching over her parents while they was missing all this time, because she just was really good. But then you get Adam over here who literally knew Carlos all this time. Like Carlos has been already there for a hot minute. Like we've seen Carlos. And he was terrible in his introductory episode. He was not a team player. He didn't want the dude with the bottle cap glasses to play because he felt like he was better than him. And he had to learn the true workings of teamwork. So, I'm just like, I hear that. I hear that you're like, okay, yeah, he's going to be a great addition. But
like Adam, like, I'm sorry. Who drugged you? Who like held gun to your head? Like, please let us know. Send help.
I think what really actually happened was that that little piece of sandal that they were using to hurry up and choose their people, choose their successor. I think he just waited to the last minute and was like, "Dad, who am I gonna pick? Oh man, like, damn. I'm down to like 2 people. Okay. Who can I pick? And it was just like, dang, like, I don't know who to pick. I'll just go with any Carlos. And just
you know what?
Went with Carlos.
Given Adam's personality, I can actually see that. Like, I can legit see that. I can see him being like just so spaced out in his own world and then realize, oh shit, the ceremony's today. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. No, no, no. Okay. All right. All right. Who was the last person I spoke to? I think it was Carlos. Okay, he is
It's Carlos.
It was Carlos.
It's Carlos.
And he has long hair like I do. So it's perfect.
Right.
It's gonna work. This is perfect. This is awesome. Got it. Ah, I made my choice. Yes. Yes.
And I have to say nice things about him and lie.
Exactly, Demetrius. I made my choice. I have chosen wisely. I can see Adam like just being like, I thought really long and hard, and like I lost sleep over this, and I think I've decided. I found my successor. I know who I know who'll be great to take my space, my place.
Freaking Carlos.
Like,
but no, like seriously though, like, and this is no shade, like we're just joking. But In Space really was like Carlos's time to shine because, like, for the most part, nobody else didn't really get much to do.
Yeah.
Other than Carlos, maybe Cassie, because she got a couple episodes, but Carlos was like.
Though. He kept getting all the episodes, and it was just kind of like
because that mug was giving up so damn fast. Like he accidentally hit Cassie, and all of a sudden, I can't be a ranger anymore.
He was honestly on the wrong team. He should have waited like, I don't know, was it 10, 15 years for Power Rangers Overdrive? Like the wrong team.
Wow, that's funny.
I mean, shoot. I mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. He could have went ahead, been the leader of Operation Overdrive. They like quitting.
See, like they froze his butt. They could have unfroze him in Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. And they could have, and then what's his face? Like, what's Mac's father's name again? I don't even know now. And
Andrew Hartford
forced him to joining the team, like he did with everyone else.
Well, yes, because he sure did force everybody else to join. He ain't gave nobody a chance. Like,
that sound like Lightspeed.
Okay, because they sure did kidnap them people and was like, all right, so the only way out you got is to swim. So,
right? So
like, I felt that's like all you got.
Maybe Carlos would have done better on that team. I don't know. Just saying.
No. No. The way he would have gave up so fast, like he probably would have gave up the first time. Like, no, I'm good. Now I will say with this one here, because they mentioned Lost Galaxy. Now he says, I always loved their introduction episodes becoming Rangers, even though this season was the cringiest as far as acting. To me, I still love them as a team, and also Trakina was fine as fuck till she turned into her true form, which was that alien. Which is horrifying. Now, do you agree with that?
I do.
Because I didn't really.
I do.
You think it was the cringiest as far as acting?
It was.
Wow.
For certain actors.
Yeah, for certain actors.
I was gonna say for one, personally, for one.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because everybody else was fine.
Do you want to say who?
Oh, absolutely. People know this. Maya.
Really her?
Really?
I mean,
yes.
I mean, not really her.
I thought Leo was very cringy too.
Who?
I actually
Leo.
Leo.
Oh, well, yeah, Leo was, yeah. But to me, I could deal with Leo more than I could deal with Maya. I just couldn't. Like, for Maya, to me, I just couldn't.
For me, it was basically everybody except for Kendricks and Kai. Leo didn't bother me. I felt like he had a certain charm that went with the character that they were established in the first episode. But for me, Maya and Damon weren't really doing it for me when I watched it back.
Really? I love Damon. I thought Damon was funny. Like, the way he was just like, Yeah, to me, Damon screamed, his character to me always screamed like, are you doing this because I'm black? Like, it's just like, because they always had him being the decoy. And I personally feel like they did that to him because he was black. Like, I was just like, and I think that's the reason why I like Damon so much, because he was just always like, why do I have to be the decoy? Like, I just loved that about him. And I just like that he was so sarcastic and just like sometimes a jerk. And I really liked it.
I feel
I
really
love that
bad
about Damon.
this. I feel horrible about this, but I always compared him to his not predecessor, his, I guess his descendant Green Ranger, who was Joel in the next season. Because
those were the same characters. They were the
yeah,
exact same character.
but Keith Robinson is just such a better actor. Or at least he was allowed to be.
Ooh.
But I never saw Damon in anything
Well, you say what?
I never saw Damon in anything else, so I can't even like compare. I don't know.
Stop that.
No disrespect, Reggie Roll, because I know that they did not let you guys do everything you could do.
This is true. But no, for real. And like, and when I say like, I personally felt like Maya just wasn't given. Like, and this is nothing against Serena, because obviously Serena is still working. You know, Serena has an outstanding career as one of the screen queens of horror. So, you know, Homegirl has made her mark. So that's not. So I'm not saying that, you know, Serena is a terrible actor, but that character just did nothing for me. I always felt like that character was so cringy. Like, I hated her.
Why did you hate her? Damn.
I did. I hated her. I hated her. She was the worst.
I feel like it was a real missed opportunity with her, because that was a really cool character. Like, the concept of the character, her being an alien girl, being able to talk to the Galactic Beast. I think that they could have done a lot more.
You were right.
Oh, animals too. Well, yeah, I thought that they could have done a lot more with that character.
That's the thing.
But she was a girl, so they didn't want to.
Well, no, I don't even think it was that. I personally, what I really think it was they used Serena Vincent as the one that they wanted to make boys fawn over. It almost kind of felt like they used Serena as, you're better seen, not heard. And that's no shade to Serena. No, and that's no shade. That's really no shade. But her character, in terms of like being able to do things and stuff like that, like, her character was like, she got the very bare minimum, despite having a storyline that should have honestly pushed the show forward. Because just like I mentioned before, where, you know, there were certain characters that always kind of felt like if they actually had their stories told, they would be the forefront of the show. Maya was one of those characters, because we started out watching Maya being like the forefront. Like, her whole story was, she knew all about the Quasar Sabers. She knew all about the legends of the Quasar Sabers and all of that. She knew all of that because she came from the people who protected them. Mm-hmm. She came from those people. So it was like, she was the person. So the story technically should have revolved around her, because it started with her and it ended with her. You know what I'm saying? Because when they got back to Marinoy, she's like, oh, the legends were right. We were chosen. And now we can save everyone by putting the swords back in the stone. You know? So it was just like, why did I use that voice? But like, seriously, like, the story started with her and it ended with her. But in between, they did nothing with her. Like, absolutely nothing. And it was a terrible missed opportunity. But you know what they did do? They made her outfit a lot more revealing as the show went on. Because more and more, them breasts started to be pushed up more. You started to see a lot more cleavage. Like, like they sexualized her a lot more as the show went on, but they didn't give her anything to do. So it was obvious what they were trying to do with her character. It was obvious. If you really, because like I went back to rewatch some episodes of it, and I'm like, why does it look like she's a lot more sexualized now? Like, especially as the show went on before Kendrick's quote unquote died, like she started to look a little more scantily clad. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, y'all. I see what y'all trying to do. All right. So, but of course, with her character, she just was there. They did nothing with her. So I'm just like, I guess. So I never cared for Maya. And like I said, that's nothing against Serena. That's nothing against Serena. And I would love to actually pick her brain to actually find out exactly what happened on set, and in terms of like the wardrobes and like, why they made her dress that way and stuff like that. I would love to ask her because I feel like there's a conversation there. Like I would love to ask her. We should bring her on the show. We should request her. I think I am. But anything else on Lost Galaxy?
Oh my god, the filler.
Yes.
The filler like messed with the potential of that season. It was always one of my favorites growing up. And then when I watched it back, there was a lot of damn filler. And I think that hurt it.
So you didn't like the filler episodes?
No.
Well, damn.
No, I'm thinking
all right.
about what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about what's it called? Drive to Win, and it was the episode where they made Kendricks and Maya like trophies.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
boy rangers had to race to win them back or some shit.
Yeah.
But I did like Hecuba's Revenge. And I like that. It was kind of like a two-parter. I like that one. Oh, and
I don't know if the filler really bothered me.
And there was one, the penultimate episode where Mike lost his powers. That's one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Now
that wasn't so much filler because it went into the finale.
Now that one I didn't like. I didn't like that episode. Maybe because I just didn't like Mike, so I could care less. Like it just did nothing for me. And then like I always remember that scene of Mike like floating in space, and I'm like, this mug should be dead. Like he doesn't have any powers. He's floating in space. Like he should be dead. Like, and that's when I realized, oh, that doesn't work the same in Power Rangers like it does in real life. So whatever. But yeah, like I like the filler episodes didn't really bother me too much in Lost Galaxy. I'll tell you what did bother me. That whole quest to finding the Lights of Orion. That bothered
that was stupid.
Because I'm sorry, the Lights of Orion are in freaking statues of sunflowers, cameras.
And these are all on freaking like a brand new space station or space colony.
Exactly.
They're not even like on a planet somewhere. What?
Exactly. Like how in the devil? Like why would you think that this power, this energy, will go into a space colony and go into the ground? Or like inhabit something like sunflower statues or inhabit something like cameras. Do you really think that this power would do that? Make that make sense. Like that storyline was just so stupid to me. So yes, if there were any filler episodes that were stupid, it was that to me. But other than that, like the filler didn't bother me too much. Like I said, there were just certain things that bothered me, but for the most part, like Lost Galaxy was just one of those seasons. I enjoyed it because they had some really cool, neat episodes, but it was just one of those things that I just felt like they were trying to do a thing and they somewhat succeeded, but also they didn't. It was just kind of like a very middle of the road, like kind of sort of thing, but I still enjoyed it. Speaking of middle of the road, but I still enjoyed. I feel the same way about Light Sea Rescue. This group went against actual demons. They were already out of college in their professions and was handpicked to save the world. Also, when their underwater headquarters got invaded and destroyed, it had me stressed. That is probably one of the best finales in
I was
Power
about
Rangers
to say
history.
that, absolutely.
Hands down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When they, I think it was the end of the.
That
the
is
end
probably
of the,
one of the best.
I think it was the end of the first part where they're looking out. They're in the aqua base and they're looking out of the window, and then they see that there's cracks in the window and it's starting to leak inside. I was like, oh shit. That was so cool.
Yo, when I say stressed, because I'm gonna tell you right now, when that water started seeping through and the cracks started getting bigger, I'm like, oh, these mothers are gonna drown. They gonna die. They gonna die. Like, I just knew. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna die. They're gonna die. They're gonna die. And then not only that, you got Red and Titanium. They out there trying to fight Queen Banshira, and I'm like, ain't no way in hell y'all gonna beat that helper, because she out here just like mollywopping mugs, and she kicked them out the doggone skull cavern. I'm like, oh my God, like it was a mess. And then of course the bad guys got a hold of the Omega Megazord and it started putting the pillars up. Child, stressed. I'm like, oh my God, like there is no way them Rangers gonna be able to stop this. Like, of course we knew they were, but it was just like all the odds were against them. And I feel like that's how finales should be. That's how finales should feel. It should feel like there's no way they're gonna win. There's no way. And we just saw them overcome every obstacle, and they beat them. Like they beat every single obstacle and made it work. Even though they had to destroy the Omega Megazord, which I personally love that Megazord. That Megazord looks phenomenal. That's one of my favorite designs. But they destroyed it. Still, the freaking pillars, the freaking tower was still created. But, you know, they still managed to defeat Queen Banshira and lock her ass up where she getting jumped. She's still getting jumped by them demons in hell. Them demons
exactly what she deserves.
Yeah. Listen, them demons are still beating her ass in hell. Right at this moment. Them demons have been beating her ass since 2001. Like, they are still beating her ass right now. Like, I love it. I love it. Like, and like you said, it's like she totally deserved it. She totally deserved it. But yeah, like, oh man, like that's such a damn good finale. That's how you do finales, y'all. That's how you do it. But question. Do you think that was a stronger finale, or do you think that Time Force had the stronger finale?
Oh God!
I personally like Time Force.
That's hard because.
No, I missed what Lena said. Oh, she said Time Force. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what you gonna say, Will?
That is hard because they had some heavy hitters for like 5 years. That's really hard.
Okay,
that's
even harder question.
Really, really difficult.
Even harder question. I got a harder question for you. Which finale did you think was better? Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed, or Time Force?
That actually narrows it down a little bit better.
It was Lost Galaxy, Time Force, and Lightspeed.
Yeah, out of the post Zordon eras.
Time Force for me.
Oh, so you just think Time Force overall? Okay.
Oh my God, I still remember. Oh my God. Okay, so the first episode where the first part of the finale where Wes he locks them all in the time ship so they can't fight with him. And he knew he was going to die, but he knew that they couldn't help him. It was just destiny. So he sent their asses back into space, and then they're all like, "No, no!" And then Jen's crying. Oh my god! And then the second one, after Alex's evil ass tries to do the memory wipe on them, and then Jen's like, "No, we're going back to save Wes," and everybody's on board, and then they're all running to the time ship. Hold on, Wes. Oh my god! And then of course the end where we don't get a kiss between Wes and Jen. I'm getting all types of chills thinking about that again. Oh my goodness. Damn. Now I'm thinking about that. But then, like we said, the Lightspeed one was excellent, and then the freaking Lost Galaxy one was excellent. This is really difficult. Really difficult. I'm going to say Lost Galaxy. And I'm gonna say that because
okay,
it was such
Wasn't
a
expecting
fitting
that.
it was such a fitting ending for them to put the Quasar sabers back into the stone. And then before that they realized that they were on Marinoid, and then them putting the swords in the stone made Marinoid come back to life from what happened in one of the first episodes of the season. And then of course also Kendrick's being resurrected. That was it was so dramatic, and I thought it was
Like
a
the
beautiful
coming
moment.
of Jesus.
Yeah.
Homegirl came walking out the white light. Like Jesus on the third day. She rose from the dead, honey. Kendricks was like, "Hey y'all, sorry I'm late. We had traffic, but I'm here." I'm like, girl. But I'm not gonna hold you though. That scene did make me cry. Cause I boo-hooed when I first saw that episode. I ain't gonna hold you. I was like, oh, it was the ugly cry too. I ain't gonna even hold you. It happened. It happened. See, I'm so glad y'all don't watch these shows with me for real, because the way I be watching this show sometimes, it be putting me in my fifis. But no, I don't know. For me, I probably would have to say Lightspeed. So it's funny that all three of us are like in three different seasons, but I would have to say Lightspeed. I feel like, now granted, if I had to choose a second one, it would be Lost Galaxy. If I had to choose a second. But for me, my number one would be Lightspeed. I just love just the setup of how we got there, because we basically were getting set up with this finale since the death of Loki. When Loki died, that was like the beginning of the end. When Loki died, when Queen Bansheera sacrificed him, that was like the beginning of the end. And then Diabolical was like, yo, fuck her. Diabolical was mad because she made Loki die. And he was just like, oh, bump this heifer. We're done. Like, that's it. And then she got him killed. And then he came back as a mindless drone and attacked the Rangers or whatever. And then, of course, Olympius, them two ended up fighting the Rangers and dying. And then, of course, you got the whole finale. And then with Diabolical turning right around and getting revenge on Queen Bansheera by helping the Rangers like knock her down in the hell too. Because technically, Queen Bansheera didn't die. Like, she's not a spirit. Like, she is like her actual full demon body getting beat up by undead spirits. So literally, she can try to kill them all she wants, but they're just going to come back and continue beating her ass. So she's getting her ass beat for all eternity. in hell. Like, that is the worst punishment, I think. Like, when you really think about it in hindsight, that is legit the worst punishment. Like, Trakina was dead. Well, seemingly. She died. Rancic got arrested, after thinking he shot and killed his daughter. But of course he didn't kill her, but he injured her. And that was how he decided that he was going to go ahead and turn himself in. But Queen Bansheera is over here still in 2022, still getting her ass beat in hell. Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry, but I just think that Lightspeed is just like, yeah, I think Homegirl is like, it's a wrap. Like, I would think that that finale is just, ugh. I don't know. I just really like that finale. And then let's just go ahead and just go with the Wild Horse. They said that they went through something in this season. The backstory of the Red Ranger and his parents was sad. The villain Master Org was salty as fuck. Yes, he was. I wanted every single one of those Zords, and Zenaku. The Zenaku arc was fire and chaotic. We mentioned that earlier, but yeah, I agree 100%. I think that honestly, that's the reason why people love Wild Horse, is literally because of those reasons. Then it goes to Ninja Storm. This time, the Rangers was a trio. They were always cool as fuck, in my opinion. This group ended up having, though they really were freaking cool. This group ended up having actual superpowers. Bleak and Hunter gave them hell when they were evil. Yes. I was glad when they joined later. Rest in peace to Pua, who played the Red Ranger. Yeah, like Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm just had so many twists and turns. And it's just, the one thing I love about Ninja Storm is the fact that it was so campy. It was probably, to me, it was camp done right. It was camp done right.
Agree with that.
Right? Like, it was perfectly crafted. It was so campy, but still fun. And it didn't feel stupid. Like, it didn't feel like it was playing on, like, my intelligence. It was just fun. But what I also loved was that you realize that some of the characters weren't who you thought they were. Because the whole entire time, I'm sitting here thinking Mara and Capri were idiots. Like, I'm like, those were some of the dumbest characters ever. And in hindsight, you end up finding out those are actually some bad bitches. Like, they out here, like, running shit behind the scenes and trying to plot to kill their uncle. What? Are you for real? Like, dead ass. Like, when I say gooped and gagged, that plot, that little twist gagged me. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I thought y'all were dumb. You know what I'm saying? I thought y'all were the idiots. I thought y'all were the squat and babu of the show. And it turns out, no, like, y'all are like, nah, we trying to kill our uncle. Like, we trying to end him. So it's just like, that is wild to me. And then even Lothar caught on to it. He was like, I didn't really think y'all were that stupid. Like, I had a feeling y'all were going to turn against me. And then he even tried to get them killed and blow their asses up in the ship. Like, come on. Like, I'm just like, I don't understand how anybody would think that Ninja Storm was terrible. I just don't. Like, what did you think? Did you also think that Ninja Storm was really good? Because I know people were just like, Ninja Storm was terrible.
I loved Ninja Storm.
I did too. I did too. I didn't see a ton of it when it originally aired. I saw a little bit. I still remember this was super random, but I might have told this story before. I remember that season was out when I was in, was that 2002? So I was in 6th and 7th grade, and I remember they had these it wasn't Legos, it was Mega Blocks. They had the 3 main Zords and the small Rangers, and you could put the Rangers inside the cockpits and also put the Zord together. which is something that I've wanted since I was little. So it was like so cool to see that. So I bought them. Of course, this was like 2 years after I had given up on Power Rangers because I thought I was too big for it. But I did that.
Oh wow.
um, I remember watching the show when I did that whole series rewatch before Samurai, and just
Mm-hmm.
being so like I love those characters. I love that they were able to be campy and funny, but the characters it shined through. They might have been green actors, but at the time, like I felt like they were doing a good job of portraying those characters, and the stories were good. I think the only thing that I didn't like was that they weren't really intentional with Blake and Tori because of this weird. It seems like a Power Rangers Bible rule to not have relationships fully developed in these seasons. But that was like the only thing that I didn't like, that they didn't really like fully go all out with that. But other than that, I love the season.
True. True. No, like I agree. Like, and honestly, I don't even think that they were necessarily green. Because I mean, well, let me put it this way: I don't feel like I could tell that they were green in their acting. Because if you would have asked me, I would have told you that I would have thought that they were, with the way that they were acting. I felt like they were acting for a very long time. Like that they've been doing things like, you know what I'm saying? Like they had presence of like actors that were like already acting in other various things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
I had
know.
mentioned that because I remember I had seen I believe it was Pua. He did an interview. It was either an interview or it was on his podcast. He had mentioned that they didn't have a lot of acting experience. It was a lot of their, if not
Mm-hmm.
their first job, like which we always see with Power Rangers. If not their first job, it was
Right.
one of their first jobs. So like he wasn't, or they weren't as refined as they would be later. So that was the only reason why I said that. But like even with that, yeah, I thought that they did a really good job for the most part.
Like I say, child, listen, like I agree. I think that, you know, they knocked it out of the park. Like they did so well. And just the chemistry, their comedy banter was good. Like it's just they were just so freaking good. And I just hate that so many fans are just like, oh, like Ninja Storm was terrible, and oh, it wasn't that great. And I'm just like but it just had so much goodness. But you know what they didn't say that for? Dino Thunder. The writing in this season was by far one of the best. It came with crazy twists. It was dark, and they snapped when they brought Tommy back and he became the Black Ranger. This is definitely one of the best seasons, hands down. Agreed 100%. And I know that people will sit there and they'll say, "Oh, I disagree," or blah blah blah. Everybody has their opinions,
Who the fuck is
but for
disagreeing with that?
girl, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen mugs say they don't like Dino Thunder or they don't think Dino Thunder is
That's
that good.
wow.
I do. I have seen it. I've seen it a couple times actually. Some people do not care for Dino Thunder. I personally am
That's
like, what is wrong with
nuts.
you? What is wrong with you? But then those are also the same people who would be like, oh my God, I think that Ninja Steel is one of the best seasons ever. So I'm just like, I
Oh
don't pay no attention to you.
wow.
But but you know, for me personally, I'm just like, the only thing that I will sit there and say that I did not like from Dino Thunder is just the fact that they made it painfully obvious what storylines that they did not want to continue with. They made it obvious. And the storylines I'm referring to is the love triangle between Dr. O, Zeltrax, and Elsa.
That was a
Because
love triangle.
there you go. There you go. Because remember, there was a time in the show where Zeltrax was very upset because Elsa had herself a little crush on Dr. O. She did. She had herself a little crush, and Zeltrax liked Elsa. So there was a little love triangle going on there. And obviously, as we saw, that dissipated quickly. Also, the whole situation with Kira and Trent went nowhere.
Oh, God. The fact that, oh my God, the final nail in the coffin for that one was when they were talking about the prom and Trent is just like totally not even looking at her.
Didn't say anything about asking her or nothing. Just, yeah. Well, you going to the prom? Yeah, I'm going. Okay, cool.
Like
End of
like
the
they
conversation.
never were talking and nothing. Like
Like
they never liked each other.
had a relationship. You know, like biggest upset. So, you know, I just hated the fact that this show dropped so many good potential storylines. Yeah, like they just dropped so many, and it's just like, dang, like if they could have kept that going, that would have been great. And also, as we have, heard, that was the first time that we could have had a lesbian in the show.
Right.
Could have had a lesbian. So there's
Could have
just
had a lesbian.
could have had a lesbian. So hey, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But then he says SPD, they were cops basically that lived in a world that was mixed with humans and aliens, but they were a dope team and the fight scenes, fire. This was also the second time we got a black man as the Red Ranger. I agree. The fight scenes in SPD were it didn't make any sense how good those fight scenes were. Like they were so good. Anything else you want to add? Because I feel like that was basically self-explanatory. And we talked about SPD last week.
I just remember watching that in absolute secret because
why?
Because that was my first year of high school. So I didn't tell nobody I'm watching that.
Oh my God.
And I watched it because I had started watching Dino Thunder because Tommy came back. So when SPD started, that was actually pretty good. And I didn't finish it, but I liked the little bit that I had seen until I finally got to watch it again years later, watching it 4 years later. That one of the best acting casts that we had. I always say that.
Agreed. For sure. Okay. Mystic Force. Now, Mystic Force, interesting. It gave such an underrated it's such an underrated season and group. It gave a nice Harry Potter tease, the storyline, the villains, the magic, and it was always cool how the Rangers could each turn into Zord-sized Titans and then combine as one Zord together. I actually forgot they did that. As bad as that is, I forgot they could turn into Titans. My bad. But
right.
I forgot. I totally forgot they could do that. Yeah, because that's the first time. Isn't that the first time that the Rangers actually? No, I'm lying. No, it's not the first time. Or is it? Wasn't it the first time they could do that?
Yeah, because the Alien Rangers, they didn't turn into their Zords. They could control what and those weren't even Zords. Those were their battle boards. They could control what they did by like doing moves on the ground, and then the giant would do the moves. But for Mystic Force, it was the first time that they actually turned into the Zord.
That's right. I actually did, and I did like some of the things about Mystic Force, but overall, I just didn't like the fact that it was literally the Nick show. I'm just like, y'all just let this boy be the main focus. And I'm just like, this whole story about, oh, who's the light? Who's the light? We been knew who the light was since like episode 2. Like we been knew. Like it just wasn't given. I'm just like, I guess. I mean, they had some fun things and they did have some cool stuff that they introduced in the show, but as a whole, like, I don't know. Did y'all like Mystic Force at all? Was it given for you? I know Violet Rangers is gonna kill me because this is her season. But but it just wasn't given to me. What did y'all think?
I didn't I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. There were certain things that were cool. Like I liked what was that orange thing with or am I thinking of SPD? I'm thinking of SPD. Oh, Phineas, the goblin. I think he was a
Ah,
goblin. I liked him.
yes. See, I didn't even
And
like him.
I thought he was funny. Weird, obviously. And I like some of the Rangers, some more than others. I always talk about Madison and that poor under I totally underutilized character. I really liked her though. I like Daggeron. The whole thing. I liked Udana. I thought that was cool that we had an older person, somebody not a teenager or a young adult as a ranger, even though she
True.
lost her snow staff like the first episode, I think.
The first episode in, like, good lord, like that lady
But then
stayed losing her power.
oh, not Claire. I was in love with Claire. I love that character so much. Um, but there were just this is weird. It kind of reminded me of the. It wasn't as wacky as the Neo Saban era shows got, where it was just ridiculous. But there was some wackiness in there that I just didn't gel with. So I'm not
Mm,
like it was okay. It wasn't horrible,
yeah,
but it wasn't
I
great.
feel the same. I feel the same. It wasn't horrible, but it was okay.
I personally really liked it.
Oh, so you actually like Mystic Force.
Yes.
Okay. What did you like about it?
I don't know. Like it was just like everything. I think I liked the fact that it was different. They had capes. And then the cell phone thing was kind of weird because it turned into a wand, but I was like, that's unique, I guess, you know. And obviously the female Zors was a fairy and a mermaid. Duh, like that's freaking awesome. And I love the sister duel. That was really cute. I really do like Madison. And I love the relationship with Chip and Vita. I don't know, like I
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously in the beginning I really liked Nick. I thought he was hot. There's that too.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I actually I did not hate the season. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I will say I agree. I do like the characters. I like the characters a lot. I had like the biggest crush on Xander, and I think it was because of the accent. I mean, Xander himself,
Right? I
like
forgot.
Richard
He's
is gorgeous.
hilarious.
And plus, Richard is gorgeous. Like, that is such a gorgeous man. But also, on top of him being so fine, like, it's the accent too. Ooh, child, the accent.
The
Um,
the first time that I had seen Xander was on Once a Ranger, so I was
oh,
looking
so you didn't even
forward
see
to.
him in his season.
So I was looking forward to seeing him and like in full at length when I finally watched that season, and I did enjoy him.
Yeah, like I really fucked with Xander. I really liked him. Um, I like Xander. Like Chip did kind of get on my nerves a couple times. Um,
Same.
but Like, because that whole I want to be a superhero. I was like, okay, all right, bro, shut up. But, but I don't know. Like, I really did actually like the cast. I feel like the season underserved them, but not like how it underserved another team that came like right after them.
Oh,
And who am I
trash.
referring to? Operation
Garbage.
Overdrive. The setup of this group and season was one of the most unique, considering they got to fight and explore many different countries around the world instead of just fighting in their hometown. So I find it so funny that his description of Operation Overdrive was basic as hell. Like he ain't said whether he liked it or not. It's just like, yeah, I like the fact that they the setup was cute. They got to fight in other places other than San Angeles. So yeah, that's a plus, right? I love it. I love it. Love it. And then of course he starts talking about the movies. He talks about the 1995 movie, the Turbo movie, and he also talks about the 2017 movie. Then he talks about Forever Red. And he even spotlights Tommy Oliver. But then he goes to start talking about Jungle Fury. He said, I already turned in my morpher before it got to this group. LOL, never watched, but I knew it existed. But I always heard many loved it, so this is for y'all. Which I don't know who those many are because I'm not a part of that many.
I'm in the majority that actually enjoyed this. Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm in the minority. Excuse me.
Oh, so he's talking about Will. He's talking about you. Lena, you like Jungle Fury, didn't you, or you didn't?
I did like Jungle Fury also.
Okay, so he's talking about you too. He's talking about y'all.
Yeah.
Because child, he sure wasn't talking about me. Because that show ain't like that season. Child, that season good.
I don't know. I feel like for me, I think when I first like was introduced to them, I watched them in a, how do I say this? Like, so I actually watched all the seasons right after I came back and watched RPM first. Like, so I don't know, one day out of the blue, I just finished college and I was like, what did I do with my life? Oh yeah, let me go to Netflix, kind of thing, right? And I logged into Netflix and I was like, Power Rangers.
What am I gonna do with my life?
Like, I just remember I was home. It was like the afternoon, and I don't know why. Like, don't even ask. Like, it was weird. But then I started watching RPM, and I was like, you know what? This shit is really good. So obviously, I went back, and my last season at that point too was Power Rangers Down Thunder, which I absolutely freaking adore. And so I think at that point in my life, I had given up Power Rangers because, everybody was trying to tell me that I need to grow up. Well, you know what? Who knew? 32-year-old us will be here today with a podcast.
Okay.
So I finished college. I was like, what am I doing with life? Let me watch some Power Rangers. So I did. And it was really good. So then I was like, well, let me go back to right after Down Thunder to see what happened. And so I'm not gonna lie, I watched every single season and I took it in for what it was. And I thoroughly enjoyed each season because they were so unique and they all had a very serious, dark tone to it, which I really liked. And yeah, like I don't know, like so whenever I think about those seasons, it always kind of reminds me of, in a way, the day I came back to the fandom, and that's when so it's like a good memory, and I do like each season though for what it is. Not that I love it, but I like the little quirks, the little ins and outs, and of course some of the characters.
Okay. No, and honestly, Lena, I'm glad that you said it like that because honestly, like I have to give credit where credit is due. Because basically with me, I've shared this before, but I stopped watching or almost stopped watching. No, I did stop watching actually. Right when Wild Force came out, I was done. I was like, this show fucking sucks. I'm done. This show is, I've outgrown it. It is no longer for me. I'm good. Um, and I remember seeing promo for Ninja Storm, and I'm like, oh shoot, like this actually looks fun. And mind you, Wild Force was still airing. Like, I mean, like they were doing like that syndication. They were doing syndication for it. So they were still re-airing some episodes of Wild Force. And I was avoiding them like the plague. When I say I was avoiding them like COVID, child, I was like,
wow.
I am not watching this shit. Like, when I say I avoided Wild Force, you could not pay me to watch Wild Force. And so I ended up avoiding it until literally the first episode of Ninja Storm when it first came out, and I remember watching it on ABC, and I was like, which is Channel 9 for us, and I was like, oh my god, like I really freaking like this show. Like this show is fantastic. And I just went ahead and followed through with it. Like I just went ahead and just kept watching it, and I'm not gonna hold you like. I was pretty much around that time, like I was in high school. So, I was in high school, still watching, you know what I'm saying, still getting my life. But for me, I never kept it a secret, but then again, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. So, like, I guess I was keeping it a secret, but not really. But overall, like, I always kept watching it, even through the bad, like Operation Overdrive. I still watched it, and it just, I don't know, like it was just one of those things. I feel like the Disney era as a whole, and we're going to get to RPM, which is the last one, but the Disney era as a whole, to me, with as bad of seasons that it had, well, not bad, but when it started to tank a little bit, they were never so bad to the point where I was like, I can't watch this. Like they never gave me Wild Force. They never gave me Ninja Steel. They never gave me Samurai or Mega Force. Like they never gave me that. It was always like they did something, and I don't know whether you guys agree or not, but they did something where it kind of felt like even though the show may not have been up to par, it was still so vastly different that it made you still want to tune in. Did it feel like that for you, or like, or you just was like, I'm just gonna watch no matter what?
It. So at the time, I wasn't like watching regularly. I watched some of what did I watch? I think like the bare minimum, maybe like a couple of episodes of Ninja Storm, and then I watched a little bit more of what was that Dino Thunder, and then a little bit of SPD. In hindsight, I feel like those seasons, they especially after Neo Saban, those held up better, and they just were better. Um, I remember the Disney era at one point got a lot of hate, and I guess we just didn't think it could get any worse, and then it did. So,
Right.
and I think it makes people just appreciate it a little bit more, or a lot more. So,
Well, oddly enough, people I think still don't really care for certain seasons like Operation. Like people
well,
still
that
feel like
sucks.
those are like the
Yeah.
worst ones. And I'm like, really? More worse than,
I know, like I remember people didn't like, there's some people that did not like Ninja Storm because it was campy. But now I think that people
mm-hmm.
appreciate it a lot more because we've gotten like really bad seasons where they've tried to be funny, like trying to make um Troy's character, who was really bland, funny, or whatever the fuck they were doing in like Super Nips. What was that shit? Mega Super Four? I don't know. Making all those dumb faces and stuff. Like what the hell was that?
Wow.
No disrespect to Andrew Gray, but that shit was weird. That shit was
No,
just bizarre.
it was it was weird. It was so weird. It was so weird. I just feel like as a whole, and and like you said, no shade to Andrew Gray. They were doing all they could. They really did. They tried. Um, but I don't know. Like as a whole, I do kind of feel like they the series itself was just giving real like I do feel like there were certain gems in the Neo Saban era that could have worked. Right? They really could have worked. I still stand on this hill and I may stand on it by myself, but I thoroughly, genuinely feel that if they actually let the writers do what they were going to do with Megaforce, Megaforce would have worked. Megaforce would have been a damn good season if they would have let them do what they were going to do. Because looking at some of the scripts, looking at the backstories, looking at the bios and everything, they had a clear plan for this show. They had an obvious, clear plan, and it seemed like it was given real Mighty Morphin, but in like a more updated kind of style. And it could have deviated and went somewhere else completely. And just the fact that the producer, Jonathan Tezak, was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Like, the fans want to see them fight, so we're just gonna show them fight. And that's it. And, just made it completely to where it was just like all you seen was just fight scenes. No character development, no nothing. I'm like, well, if that's the case, why do you have these actors here? You could just hire voice actors. But it's just really bad how they did that. How they did that. How they did them. It was just really bad. They mentioned RPM, and here's what he had to say about one of the best series of all time. He says, and I quote him. RPM, the 2000s era of Power Rangers was overall fire, and this was the last one of the decade before the franchise continued with this 2010s era. So, like he said before, he didn't watch anything post. What was it? Post Operation Overdrive, because he didn't watch Jungle Fury. So RPM, what did you think about RPM? Because I know we all pretty much are on the same page here when it comes to RPM, but what did you think?
I loved it. It felt it felt like a real TV show.
I loved
Like
it.
it took itself a little bit more seriously, but at the same time still had the humor. It had good acting. It had good storytelling. There was I didn't see the shift, but when the original showrunner left,
I did.
and it didn't, like, it wasn't that many episodes with Chip Lynn, right?
Yeah, it was. It was half.
Was it
Well,
half?
well, yeah, it was about half. Yeah, it was half.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
well,
probably
it
need
was
to
less than
watch it
half. It was a
again.
little less
But
than half because I want to say Eddie left around episode. What was that, like episode 18 or 19, something like that? And they had 32 episodes, so it was a little less than half. But Chip still had like a good chunk of episodes. Like he still had
uh,
a nice chunk. So, but for me personally, I felt the difference. I felt it. I felt the difference.
I'll probably have to go back and watch it, but I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun, and I love the ending too because it was one of those endings where okay, you think everything is resolved, and no, it's not. And then like the fact that we actually got to see it be resolved about a decade later was really cool and unexpected.
Yeah, true. What did you think, Lena?
I loved it. Honestly, like that was the season that brought me back. If I had not watched that season, I don't know if I would have came back and watched all the other seasons. It
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it holds a really high place in my life, and I thoroughly love it. I loved everything about it. I love the fact that they had known actors on there, and it felt like a real production. It did feel like kind of like what Will said earlier. It felt like a real TV show. It didn't feel like, oh, it's just Power Rangers. Like it was like, holy shit, what am I
Mm-hmm.
watching? Like
Right.
like this is like some crazy ass shit that like any other, like something like the Arrow would have possibly done, or like like any CD, like was a CW show could have possibly done. So I really thoroughly loved it. I just obviously wish production was a lot higher and we got like better quality, but hey, the actors acted and they did their job.
Facts. Facts. I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, RPM was probably one of the best that we've ever could have gotten. And I just feel like anytime I see a fan be like, oh, well, I don't really care for it, or, oh, it took itself too seriously or whatever, I always have to like literally be like, what's your favorite season? Like, and normally a lot of times they'll say seasons that are like extremely campy, or they'd say Mighty Morphin. And I'm like, it immediately lets me know who I'm talking to, because I'm like Will said, like RPM felt like something you see on prime time. Like it felt like a real show, not something like like what you would see from Power Rangers. And I mean, that's no shade for anybody who really do enjoy Mighty Morphin. Like I enjoy Mighty Morphin to a certain degree. Like I have to be in a certain headspace to watch it, but I agree. Like I do, I do like the show, but to disregard the epicness of RPM is just no. Like RPM is always just going to be a gem.
Real quick, for this thread, I had to advocate for the Power Rangers comics, and I dropped like two tweets about that in there, which was nice because some people didn't know about them. So,
Ooh. So what? So what did they say? Like what was it giving?
just being surprised that they like there was excitement and surprise that they had comics and that they're actually good. Basically that.
Oh, okay, and then
Um,
what did most people say? They didn't know about it, or
yeah, because I think in general, like the comic book industry, it's still popular, but it's like a niche thing. And then
mm-hmm.
as is Power Rangers, so you put those two together, and people don't know that. Don't know about that. But it
Child.
was yeah, it was just I just wanted to I had to
Had to throw
that
that in
that
there.
I had to throw it in there because that thread was just so that thread really did just I'm so grateful for it. That really made me happy this past week.
Nice. Okay. Well, listen, I enjoyed talking about it. I really did. I enjoyed talking about it. And I hope y'all enjoyed listening. Let us know what you think. What is your favorite season? And tell us what you think. Because we you might as well say this is hot take part 2. So like, let us know, what is it giving? Like, what did you think? Like, did you did you agree with blah, blah, blah. Did you agree with the stuff that we said? Oh my gosh, it is time to go because I am stumbling. But what did you think? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Like, what is it giving? Let us know in the comments. Like, let us know what you think.
One more time, shout out the guy that did the whole thread. He's the Vault on Twitter. His at is @_2TOO underrated X. So if you want to take a look at the thread yourself or comment, it's there for you.
But no, once again, my name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
And my name is Will.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.